What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, cleanup on Theater 7.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll gain early access to both our audio and video episodes before they're released to the general public.
Don't you want to get in on the ground floor? Be there before the normies
Of life?
Baskerville? I don't know where, but I just love being on the ground floor of things.
Well, I like being on the ground floor. It's the stairs to walk up. Mm-hmm. You're right there.
Anytime
on the
I'm in a building of any kind, and someone's like, "Oh, it's up on the," I'm like,
Nope.
Nope. I'm gone.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I'm gone. But you know what? I got in on the ground floor of just recently. In fact, a lot of people have.
What?
That's the new social media app, Threads.
Ooh, there's an S. It's Threads.
Yeah, there's an S. It's
Okay.
Threads.
Okay.
There's not just one thread. What do you think?
What?
There's only one?
Well, we're all connected by a series of tubes. It's one giant thread going through those tubes.
So before today's case, this is what we're going to talk about is the new Meta-owned social media platform, Threads. And maybe we can kind of also talk about just the imminent collapse, it seems, of Twitter. Which, if anyone doesn't know, Elon Musk got his hands on, and boy, that fella's been mucking things up over there.
Well,
last few weeks.
I have some concerns about Elon Musk owning Twitter. I mean, we all do.
You have a few?
But
You do, huh?
I honestly, like, we were talking about this the other night. I'm pretty sure he bought Twitter just to tank it, because there is nothing that he has done that really like helped the company.
But he could tank it harder if he really tried to. I think he just sucks at his job.
Or he's just stupid. Like, I don't know,
Yeah. Well, and so now in the wake of everybody, since Musk took over, people have been wanting to leave. The experience has been gradually getting worse and worse. And now Mark Zuckerberg decided this is my time to strike. I'm opening up. There have been a few other. There's been like Mastodon and Blue Sky, which I haven't really. Hive was one, I think. I haven't messed around with any of those.
Well, I haven't really like gone over to any of them because Twitter is still there, and I know like I there's a collective fan base that I like follow on Twitter,
and no platform has really been threatening to overtake Twitter in a big way until Threads, which I believe got over 100 million downloads in its first day or something like that. Partially because if you are an Instagram user, which many people are, they popped up a little thing that was, hey, click here. You can migrate your account and all of your followers too. So all these other platforms you're starting from scratch, but on Instagram, you have a pre-built base. On Threads, if you already used Instagram, you have somewhere to start off with, so you're not just shouting into the void when you thread at people.
Right. And like now they're connected to Facebook as well, right?
It's Meta. It's owned. But it's not literally connected.
There's no threads connecting Facebook. Like they didn't sew together.
No, that's a separate thread. It is. For whatever reason, they've decided we're only linking it to Instagram directly. You can't like sync up your Facebook friends yet.
Right. Which I don't think you can on the Grams either. But I don't know. Because like I have Facebook to like just follow family members and like, use it for the chat, but I don't actively use the book face.
Right.
But the other one,
we're not that old.
I constantly am on Instagram or other things. But now I signed up for it the other day because like I saw people posting about Threads, but I'm like, oh, it's just a feature inside Instagram. I didn't think it was a whole new concept, a whole new
A
application.
whole new app.
Which at some point
A
they're going to...
whole new application. You can click it on your phone. Okay, sorry, it went bad fast. Continue.
So, like, I wish it was, like, not a separate app. I wish it was just part of Instagram.
Yeah, but they want it to be.
Well, they want that
I
money.
mean, it is a separate thing. It's
Right.
it's the same. Just like Instagram isn't part of Facebook.
Right.
It is a separate. They want it to be the new Twitter. So, as for anyone who doesn't, I don't know. It's not that hard a concept to explain. Do you know what Twitter is? That's what Threads is. It's the exact same thing.
But I think it's more, like, there's more picture usage on it. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, not that I feel like it's been pretty similar from my experience. Well, here's the thing. So we both signed up for it. It's only been around for a handful of days. I don't even know if it's been a full week yet.
I don't think so.
It will have been by the time this comes out. A week, maybe two, somewhere in that range.
Maybe 3.
It could be like a year, 7 years.
Right.
We're on a new app. But sticking to Threads, this is kind of a retrospective, a look back. There are a few things that are weird about Threads that I think we've all noticed.
Now, inform me, because I downloaded it, signed up, but I haven't posted or done anything else.
Okay, I mean, I've made one post and I've looked at it a few times. I am not delving into it too much. The biggest thing to me is there is no feed to see only the people you follow. So no matter what, you are getting people you follow mixed with suggested posts by people, whether it be brands or just a funny post. Or I suspect they must take into account some of the stuff from your Instagram too. So it's like, oh, you followed this, so you probably are interested in this kind of content.
So kind of like TikTok, where it's like you start off with the whole world, and then like an algorithm or whatever starts to like shallow your spotlight down to just these key things.
Yeah, and Twitter has it too, but yeah.
I don't mind that, because I like following and seeing the people that I'm like actively chose to follow. But just like with new music and stuff, I like to just find someone new and fresh and random to broaden my world view.
But you want the option. I mean, sometimes you do just want to look at the people you're following only, don't you?
Right.
I mean, on Twitter, that's all I look at. I do not touch the feed of generated stuff.
Interesting.
I don't. I'm also not a heavy Twitter user, but I only look at the people I follow. That's just me.
Well,
I've just found the people I want to see.
Well, that's why I like Instagram, because you'll go through Instagram, and then you'll get to where there's a point of there's no more content from the people you know. So they start peppering in, oh, you might enjoy this, you might like that. And I enjoy that because, like I said, it's new things.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, I can see the appeal.
Now, give me the breakdown of Threads. Is there a text limit of how many words?
I think there is. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But I think it's like 500 or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's high.
I think Twitter's like 2,500 now.
Are they? They don't. Bigger. Because that's why I originally liked Twitter, because it wasn't a place for blog posts. It was a place where you can share. Well,
but then people just started doing
multiple
tweets.
But so I like a place that like limits. Like I liked Vine back in the day, because like you were able to do like 6 seconds of content, and you had to like think about how you do it. Or even like TikTok or YouTube Shorts, you have a set window and you have to figure out how to use that.
Yeah.
Have you? No. So you've made a post. Did you follow? Like, have you used it to read any post?
I have followed the people I follow. Here's the other thing. I'm also not a heavy Instagram user.
Right.
So I don't have like, if this migrated from Twitter, it'd be different. But right now I'm like, I follow like 15 people on Instagram or something. Right. So I'm most of my feed is people I don't know. And I'm like, why are you showing me this?
Now, do you think you'll ever make the switch over once you like get all of your Twitter people? Like if you have
I don't know.
Ideal list, so you have, I don't know how many people you follow, but if you figured out a way to get all of them over on Threads, would you say goodbye to Twitter? Because honestly, I mean, maybe for like work like this, I would keep one, but I don't like a lot of the things that he's doing in Twitter, so that might be a good way to put the final nail in the coffin.
Right. Of course, it's like out of the fire and into the frying pan because you're
Right.
going from Elon Musk to Zuckerberg, which is not really much better.
He's not much better, but he's not like actively ruining the companies.
Right. He's at least he seems to know how to make a better product.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
for
sure.
sure.
He's a CEO of a major corporation. He's trash. But but he's not like affecting my end user thing.
Right.
Where
And look, I'm using Oculus headsets. I'm deep in I've got meta in my veins at this point.
right. And the amount of stuff that they're doing over at Twitter actually affects people that I like reading and doing stuff. So it's like, yeah, I might make the switch eventually.
Yeah, I really don't know because I mean, right now I'm still using Twitter.
Right.
Most of the people are still there, and that's what it is. Where the people go in terms of social media, that's where you go.
And that's going to be weird too, because for
bottom
people
line.
who like use Twitter for jobs or to make money or entertain, they're either going to have to post twice and follow two different like comment threads and stuff, or have to say, okay, I'm leaving one and going to the other. But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
strange.
but like in like content creation, we have to follow like 8 different channels to do this show for even.
I guess it does feel like the difference is even when you look at Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter, they're all social media, but they do all serve slightly different purposes.
Right.
Whereas Threads is literally filling the exact same niche as Twitter. I mean, there is not a difference.
At this point, when they first all came to the market, yeah, Instagram was the photo thing, Twitter was the text thing, Vine and or TikTok were the video thing. But now, like, all the platforms have short form video.
You're right, but I still think there's a difference in how people approach them in terms of what they're looking for.
Okay.
Like I think people are sitting on their phone, go to Instagram for something different than they go to Twitter for.
Oh, absolutely.
Or TikTok for. So there is a different, like Threads is the first one I can think of that's really, it's also Twitter.
Right.
I mean, there's not a difference.
It's literally but look at how that happened when they made Facebook. MySpace was still actively the exact same thing. And then everyone kind of just migrated, and then MySpace got sold.
Facebook started out as like a college thing only,
Right.
and it had like an exclusive thing going for it. Yeah, we don't go watch The Social Network. You'll figure it out.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Okay, we paused the video. We've all watched The Social Network. Great movie.
Great movie. Great
really,
movie.
really good movie.
Good.
So the other thing for me personally is I'm still not a huge. I used to be a lot more into Twitter.
Right.
And I'll look at it. I'll scroll it a couple times a day, but I'm not sitting there really getting invested, making sure I read everybody's tweets every day. So I don't feel a strong urge to now start on a new one. There is kind of an appeal about, again, being on the ground floor of something where you do get this feeling that everyone's kind of more excited right now to be a part of something new. And it feels like when you post something, there's maybe a better chance someone will see it and respond to it because we're not all jaded and bored of it yet.
Right, and like the people are going to be like, oh, I want to engage with them so I get the followers that I didn't have elsewhere or that I did have elsewhere.
It's your chance for a new beginning. Yeah.
And it's also great too, like, because I remember when I signed up for whatever social media, that it's like I got my name.
Right.
Which is great because like sometimes you don't, you lose your name.
Well, that's a little weird for me too because, I'm usually at Quentz on all platforms. And for whatever reason, Instagram, because I only made my Instagram to post pictures of cats.
Right.
I never designed it to be for, to amass a following really.
Right.
My Instagram name is just my name. It's at Jonathan Estes. So that's what my Threads name is. So I feel kind of weird about that because I'm so used to being Quentz, but I don't think I had an option to change it. I guess I could have just made a new
Well, I think it might be the same
profile.
thing with Facebook too. Like, how Facebook you have to use a real name?
Oh, yeah.
I think that might tie into
Did
that.
Instagram make you do that?
I think so. I don't remember because
No, because there's still brands and stuff on there. I don't know.
Well, there's still brands on Facebook, but like,
Or maybe you can change your handle, but your
right.
name is the same. I don't know. Right now though, Threads is just it's still pretty bare bones. It's amazing that it's got so many people. It seems like it seems if Twitter keeps heading the direction it's heading, it seems like it's a matter of months before Threads is the new Twitter.
And honestly, like I mean, it's not new, but I think we did need a new social media of some point because like all the ones that we have now, I'm excluding TikTok because I don't count TikTok as like a social media, even though it is. But like,
yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Well, no, to me, TikTok is more of like a YouTube competitor. Like you're looking at videos as opposed to like.
Sure,
but
it's not about interacting
fully
as much,
right? But like we haven't had a new like think about all the social medias that are out there now. We haven't had a new one hit the market. You know, it's been Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter were the top 3 for a long time. And we haven't had anything shake things up.
There's more, I don't know, about like Snapchat, and I do think TikTok pretty much counts in my book, but yeah, so I think there have been, but you're probably right, those have been the top 3 for a long time. I don't know if maybe this is also just a good time to be like, let's just leave. Why are we doing this again?
Right.
Maybe, like, is it just going to be another Twitter eventually? Like, should we just
and that's the thing.
cut off?
Are they just like they're making a copycat? Like, you know, is it just migrate over because they see the end is near for Twitter, or something worse is happening?
There's nothing about Threads that is different in a compelling way. Right. That if Twitter weren't dying, that's the only reason Threads is interesting is because Twitter is starting to suck.
Right, and like a lot of like people left Twitter for political reasons or because they don't agree with Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. So like then we're going to get those people who left to move over to Threads.
Well, the other thing is they don't have a website yet. You can only access Threads via app.
That was a lot. Like Instagram was the same way, and so was TikTok, I believe, where it was just I think if you went to Instagram.com, it said you should download the app, and that was it.
Because they get better engagement and data and stuff. They want you on the app, so they hold off. But I don't know if you can like share a thread. I don't know if you can link someone to a thread post.
Well, that was always because I'm not a big Twitter user. Is that like, can you share your Twitter or your tweets?
Yeah, it just gives you a URL. You can send it to anybody. Yeah, or embed it.
But it's not like Instagram where like if you share your Instagram photo, it'll show the photo somewhere. You just have to go to a link.
No idea.
All right.
Well, if you're on Geeks on Trial is not on Threads as of this recording. I don't know if we will or should be. We could. Well, we have a Geeks on Trial Instagram. You could just push it over if you want to.
The only reason why I think like we probably should is just, you know, it's ground floor. We can get the name and all that, but it's like it's not we're a visual medium or audio medium.
Right.
We're not a text. But hey, if you guys want it, let us know.
If the people demand it, we'll figure it out. So anyway, we'll see how that all shakes out. It's a weird time right now. I'm excited for the Twitter v Threads movie in 6 years.
Yep, to see who screwed whoever and what college campus this happened on or garage, which, you know.
Yeah. Now, when we go see that movie, we are going to have to consider some movie theater etiquette.
Yes, we will.
And that brings us to today's case at last, which comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our description right down below. Our defendant today is Rosie. Rosie, in this case, just went to see a movie with her boyfriend, George, her BF, as the kids say. And as the movie ended, Rosie began to gather her trash, but noticed that George was walking out of the theater, leaving all of his trash behind at his seat. Thinking that this must be simply a harmless oversight, Rosie invites George back to clean up after himself, but he responds by saying that she's embarrassing him and that it's the workers' jobs to clean up after the theater goers. So she should just, kind of like Elsa does, let it go. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether George's trash is a theater worker's treasure, or if Rosie knows he's getting too cozy.
Yeah, that's all right. I wouldn't throw that one in the trash with my popcorn bucket.
Yeah. It was what it is. So this is a big This is a big subject, and I know it's one that has been on your mind for maybe your whole life.
My
Maybe your whole
entire life, I wake
theater-going
up,
life.
I wake up in a cold sweat, thinking, "Did I leave too much popcorn on the floor? What did I do? I should have thrown that out. Oh, the floors were sticky. Oh my god!"
Yeah, and usually I get a call at 3 in the morning, and it sounds like that, and I'm like, huh, who is this?
I
And then
just
you
went to
hang
bed.
up. And then you call back, and I just hear heavy breathing.
Popcorn.
And I call the police, and they say, there's nothing we can do, sir. And then I say, a cab. And they're like, please stop calling us. Okay. So that all happens. But
Right.
let's talk about this in general. Leaving trash behind at a movie, that's a big subject for movie people, and I think it is something. By the way, this is the proper way to hold a gavel for
Yeah,
those watching the
right.
video version.
When it's not in action, you keep
You
it.
hold it the hammer
upright.
end.
Right.
That's right.
Stop. Hammer end.
I think first we need to define there are different levels of trash leavage.
Which I have to go. George really shouldn't call Rosie trash. That he's leaving her behind in the theater. That's just
I'm leaving my trash
Trash behind.
behind.
anyway. Sorry,
Yeah.
I had to put a dad
You're
joke
right.
in there. Yeah.
No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Dads do often call their significant others trash. At least mine always did.
Oh,
So, there's a oh, I left a popcorn bag, and then there's oh, I spilled 14 gallons of soda
right.
all
Which-
over my chair.
Which is a small.
Yes, that's right. Usually a small is roughly a 14 gallon.
Right.
Depends. Some places it's 15.
Give or take, with 8 free
Outside of
refills.
New York.
Yes.
So, I mean, we're going to get into that, and we'll get into maybe the details of what that was for George in this case. But I believe that you, Ivan, for a time actually worked at a movie theater.
Have you been following me?
Well, I
this-
do follow you on LinkedIn, which is another technically a social media
yeah.
platform.
Who owns that?
Mr. LinkedIn, Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. That's if we did improv shows, that would be one of your characters.
Yep. There's no way that ever hasn't been done.
I know. Hello, I'm Abraham Lincoln. It's great.
What's the joke? What's the character there? Let's figure this out.
I mean, it would be an HR
Four
boss.
score and 7 resumes ago.
Your job search something.
So you worked at what theater did you work at, and for how long?
I worked for Lowe's and then AMC. So when I first
Okay.
got hired by AMC, for like 2 weeks, I technically worked for the Lowe's Entertainment Company, which is owned by another subsidiary, but whatever.
So it was the same building.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And I worked
Okay.
for AMC for I think maybe 2 or 3 years. I can't remember. I block it all out of my mind. And when you work at a movie theater, you don't get hired for a job. You get hired for, they called it film crew. So you could be concessions, you could be a ticket taker, you can be box office, or you can be an usher, which usher is the worst job in my opinion, because that is the job of going into the theaters and sweeping and cleaning and getting all the garbage. Now, as a moviegoer, I think I was raised properly by my parents to take your garbage out of the theater when you leave. You walk in with something, you leave with something. That's it. When I worked at this movie theater, the amount of people who just left like their garbage in the chair next to them was just amazingly ridiculous to me. And and sometimes you can, like, if you have a kids movie, there's going to be popcorn on the ground. It's usually better, like, if you are the person that leaves their garbage in there, leave it on the floor. Because we usually would go in with a giant, either a leaf blower or yeah, that's a fun story, or just a broom and butler, which is what you call the dustpan on a stick.
You call that a butler?
They call it a broom and butler. That you know what I'm talking about, the broom, the dustpan that's on a stick.
The dustpan.
Yep.
Yeah.
When it has a stick on it, it's called a butler in the industry.
Huh.
Yep.
That's kind of insulting to butlers.
It is. It is.
You're an object to me. You're just this trash stick.
But yeah, so like it happens a lot, and it is really annoying. Like usually, like when I worked there, I was a little bit above minimum wage because I was older. But like you're getting paid like $9 an hour to go in and clean food up off the floor that people could have just like, let me take this with me and put it in a garbage can that is right outside the door. Like,
But you make up that pay with tips, right?
No.
You don't get tipped as a.
Don't get
I
tipped
always
as-
tip my concessions. I tip at the guy rips my ticket in half. I give him a couple
Oh.
bucks.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I think you should be tipping on 20% at least
I mean,
on the ticket ripper.
we used to, if money fell on the floor and we saw money in the theater, we would keep it. So sure, we'll count that as a tip.
Can I tell you the story of a movie theater usher hero?
No.
This
Go ahead,
happened
yes.
to me. I'm sorry, we're going all over the place. We're going to get back to the trash, I promise.
Get back in the trash.
So, I mean, baseline, I guess before I go on a tangent, baseline, your experience, it happens a lot and you were annoyed by it.
Oh, very much so. But it also is like, okay, this is unfortunately that's why they hired us, because they know damn well that people are slobs. I have
Right.
a story which I'll save for the end. That's a little not PG-13. We'll get into.
So it's R?
It's in between. It's in between.
Okay, we can say fuck once.
What? Not anymore.
Sorry.
Okay, so
And it can't be sexual, so you can't be like I was fucking my popcorn.
so tell us about your hero story.
This was every once in a while I just like to remind people that this is an explicit podcast. This was a month ago. I don't remember what movie I was watching. I was by myself
Good
because
sign.
I'm
Good sign.
very alone, and I think I was maybe the only person in the theater. And maybe we've discussed this. I like to go in with my earbuds, and I like to just put those in while the trailers are running because
Well,
I don't
you-
need to hear all that.
You had people at the movies with you. Your earbuds.
That's right. But my best buds, my two best buds.
My earbuds.
And anyway, movie starts. I put them in my case.
Yep.
And I put that in my pocket. And whatever, I watch them finish the movie and leave it. And as I'm leaving the theater, an usher comes out after me. He's like, "Sir," and they had fallen out of my pocket.
Oh.
And he found them and gave them to me. And I was like, that's like 150
Right.
bucks or so. Like, I would have been very bummed if
Right.
I'd lost those earbuds. I would have been like really sad. So I was like, oh my God, this guy's great. And the other thing that's interesting about that, I also want to ask you about, as both a theater goer and a theater worker,
Ex-theater worker.
because my other quirk is that I like to watch all the credits.
Mm-hmm.
I like to sit through the credits. It's how I do.
It's what people should
And
do, by the way.
That's what they should do.
This is our PSA.
And each name that comes by, I clap.
He stands
I
and
write-
salutes. It's very unsettling. It's embarrassing, really. But
Yep. Oh, and for Nicole Kidman, of course, I do
right.
that.
Oh, he hoots and hollers.
And when's the last time Nicole Kidman's been in a movie? I want to go see a movie with her.
Every time AMC.
Every movie, yeah.
I wonder how she gets paid for that. Anyway.
But I like to say, and I find oftentimes, and at some theaters, I feel like it's worse than others, or it feels more awkward than others. The usher, and it also depends on time of day, if it's busier or not. The ushers will come in, and sometimes they'll just start cleaning around while I'm sitting there, because usually a lot of times I'm the only person still sitting there.
Right, you and your earbuds.
And sometimes they will wait, like, I don't know if they're not allowed to or if they just don't want to be rude, but they will wait by the entrance or exit until I leave to start cleaning. And then I start getting self-conscious. I start feeling guilty. Like, are they mad that I'm not leaving? This comes back to my earlier story, because I think if I hadn't sat through those credits, I might have been gone by the time the usher got there, and I might have lost my earbuds. So that's why I think it's a good thing. But what's your take? Do you find that that's true, or did you ever notice people watching credits when you had to clean up a theater?
So there's an AMC handbook that we all were trained on when working at AMC. What you're supposed to do as an usher is, when the movie gets out, there's a computer list that tells you what time the movie starts and what time the movie ends. Not what time the credits start, what time the movie finishes, which is the last credit up.
Oh.
And then it goes to blue screen or whatever they do beforehand, and the curtains move. So you're supposed to, as an usher at AMC theaters, stand by the exit and greet people as they're leaving the movie. Oh, have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the movie. See you next time. And then when you go in there, you're supposed to go in, make sure the theater is empty, and then turn the lights on. So you, as as an usher, are not technically allowed, unless they changed this in the last few years, to walk in and start sweeping because you're bothering the people's experience.
At AMC, at least.
At AMC, Lowe's, at least, yes. So we weren't technically not allowed to walk in unless it was like, oh, we have 2 ushers on the clock, and Minions and 50 Shades of Grey, which were running, I think, around the same time.
It's a great double feature.
And each theater is like booked. But usually, yeah, you are not allowed to, on the handbooks, you're not allowed to go in and clean these theaters while people are in them.
So does that annoy you, or is it like, oh well, does it feel like, oh, I get a break because I have to stand here for a minute? Like,
as
would you
an
care?
employee,
Yeah,
it's annoying in a sense of we have to clean this theater and then run to the other one.
right.
But usually, people, even at a full kids movie, they're not going to make a mess. So like, if we don't clean most of it, it's still good enough. So
Yeah,
it didn't annoy me that I had to wait, but it was kind of like, once the credits ended, then at that point we start walking in there and kind of like making noise of like, okay, let's go,
Yeah, I always get very self-conscious at my local theater, which is not an AMC.
Right.
They will usually start cleaning stuff up, but I always want to say to them, like, of course I wouldn't, but in my head I'm like, usually I don't have any food.
Right.
And if I do, it's like one bag, and I will take my trash out when I leave, and I'm not making a mess. So I want to be like, sometimes if I see a matinee or something, it's like me only in the theater. I want to be like, you don't got to clean anything, but I'm sure they have to.
Well, that's the thing. So every movie theater is digital now, so they know exactly how many people are in that theater. A lot of times, if it's a 0 showing, they just won't show the movie that hour. So, like, they know that it's just you in there. So, technically, they don't need to clean. They could just kind of, like, walk down the aisle and, like, look in between and be like, oh, he's good, and then move on. So, usually, we liked it when there was just one person in there because we don't need to clean up after you.
Yeah, I feel like if it was me in that position, I would take it as, like, oh, I have an excuse to, like, my boss isn't over my shoulder. I gotta wait for the credits. This guy hasn't left yet, so I get to like stand here for a minute and maybe I'll look at my phone or something.
Oh, there's often times where I would like walk in and just sit.
Right.
Now, I did work at AMC before they did the renovations and recliners. So like cleaning was a little bit harder because those rows were narrow and stuff like that. But apparently now, so you know how the seats recline?
Yeah.
Automatically? There isn't a reset button for that. So if people get up and they left their backs back or their feet out for some reason, you have to manually go around and press the button for these seats, which is just a flaw in design. But yeah, on that case,
there should be like a master reset somewhere.
Right, which would make sense.
That'd be cool.
But we usually liked it when it was like maybe 5 people in a theater because like you don't need to clean that.
I also feel like with the recliners, maybe that makes it harder in some ways because it's more likely for popcorn to get stuck in the crevices.
Right, because you remember the old school seats, like when they fold up, there's like a hole in it.
Everything, yeah. It's just on the floor, whatever is there.
Right.
But I am like you, like I said, I've always taken my trash to the exit. I don't understand. Like, I will often look around and see large amounts of people who they just leave a bucket of popcorn, napkins, there's popcorn on the floor, and they just are like, that's where I left it, gotta go.
Right, because they feel entitled. They're like, oh, I paid this money, clean up after me, sir. Like...
Yeah, I don't understand that mindset. I don't know if it's... But here's what I will say, maybe in the defense of those people, or at least to try to. What's interesting, at least maybe there are some movie theater like PSAs at the beginning that say this, but there isn't any signage. There's usually not a lot of things telling you directly, please clean up after yourself when you leave the theater. There's not like a sign that says... I don't know, and maybe people are like, well, when you go to a restaurant, you don't clean up your own plate.
Well,
you know
it depends
what I mean?
on what kind of, like if you eat in at a McDonald's,
True. That's true. That's true. But maybe that's the mindset they're thinking of. But now I'm like, does it in the beginning usually say when it says turn your cell phones off? Does it
It
tell you
does.
take your trash? Probably depends on the theater.
The AMC, that deep voice guy that comes on, welcome to,
Please take your trash.
Yep, that's exactly how. Is it you? But
I'm the guy.
Like the guy who usually says like, turn off your cell phones, take your trash with you. Like that's a thing that they have.
Okay. Then maybe that's not a good defense.
But
I was trying.
that movie theater like shouldn't have to. Like, do you at home watch a movie, dump the popcorn on the floor, and go, "Yeah, someone's got this."
That is so. I will say, like I was saying earlier, I think there's multiple levels of this, and like if I spill some popcorn on the floor, I'm not gonna pick it up.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
just gonna say that I'm not. I don't have a broom. I don't have paper towels on me. I'm not spraying the floor.
Right.
But like, a bag of popcorn or a cup or a candy box,
Yes.
I will take that with me. And even if there's like a piece of popcorn on like my tray or whatever, I'll put that in the bag. Like, I'm going to try not to make a mess, but I wouldn't, I'm not like deep
You're not
cleaning.
Right. No, I do the same thing because when we do the reclining theaters, we'll be eating popcorn and there's like popcorn on my shirt, on my pants, I'm a slob. So when I stand up, it goes to the floor. But that's also garbage. Like if they can't clean that theater, you can walk on that garbage and it's not in the way. Like a popcorn bag is in the way.
Yes.
Stepping on some popcorn isn't a major thing. But that was always like when we were kids, that was always the joke of like,
Right.
going into the theater, it's sticky floors and popcorn everywhere. So like, I guess that's been a thing forever, just gross movie theaters.
It's just how our American theater tradition has been. But the other difference is it's so little effort. That's the thing that really drives me nuts. Is it's like it's not just pick up the bag as you leave,
Right.
put in trash.
And usually, like for me, like we have refills, so it's like usually I'll leave the theater and get a refill as I leave.
There you go. Yeah, that's
Because,
a good move.
And I also used to get like really upset too when people would get like a tub of popcorn and a soda that's like $20, and then you go to their seat to throw it out and it's like half full. I'm like, you just wasted.
Oh,
Like bring that with you.
Well, that's theater popcorn sizes are ridiculous in my opinion. Unless you're like, I don't even know, unless you're sharing it with 6 people. Right. For whatever reason, it's a long story. We don't need to go into it. But I guess it was a large pop. Is that the biggest size at AMC?
Yeah,
a large?
The large. They also call it a tub.
It is a tub. I mean, it is huge. It's like more than enough popcorn for a family of 5.
And so usually when me and Danny go to the theaters, that'll be our dinner. Like we'll get the large refillable popcorn.
Right.
And like, that is our meal. And it also like, it's weird to me. It's like, why do you want them to refill the large?
Yeah, I guess the idea is
you're not going to finish
least
it?
likely. Yeah, I'm sure they've got some marketing tactic there.
And like, so like the
Justify
worst part
the price.
was in the summers when kids, like parents will get a soda. I thought I had a cup I was going to show, but like a soda for their kid. And like, here, little 5-year-old, hold this giant gallon yourself. And you would just watch and like that kid's going to spill it all over himself.
Yeah. That is the worst. I mean, kids are definitely bad with this. And when you just see a whole ass popcorn on the floor.
Right.
It's like.
And I can tell you like horror stories from working concession stand too, because that was the other worst thing. Like when people were like, "Oh, I spilled my soda all over myself. Can I get a refill?" No. Unless you got the refillable cup. But like, no.
Is it time for the R-rated story?
Oh, okay. I forgot about that. So when I was working at AMC, one of the 50 Shades of Grey movies was out.
Oh, baby.
And
so was the Minions movie.
We were like, okay, fine. People are going to sneak stuff in there. We had people sneaking in like bottles of champagne because I guess they were making it a date night or a women's night out thing. Mm-hmm. Also, if you sneak champagne in, do not point the cork at the screen because we had someone rip our screen. People, when you go to like an event or something where the lights are dark, people are like, "Oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I don't care." shooting corks. But the grossest thing I've ever seen at a movie theater, and I've talked to other people who worked in movie theaters, and this used to be more common, and probably is more so now with the bed reclining things. A used condom on the ground.
Aww. I thought you were just gonna say like people having sex or something, but
No, we don't have to
that's
clean
so
up
much
after that.
worse.
Well, and so there is protocol because technically that is bio grossness stuff.
That's the technical term.
Well, why didn't what bio waste?
Biohazard material.
We couldn't open that theater up for the next showing because none of us were going to go in there with gloves and pick up a fully used condom because stuff will drip out of it, and that's gross.
Aww.
Yeah, there you go.
Aww.
So it's like, not only fine, I'm happy you're using protection, great, but can you not do this at a movie theater? Also, the conversation, that was a full movie theater, too. The conversation was, how? How did this happen on the theater? And, like, nobody, like, was like, excuse
When
me.
50 Shades comes out, all bets are off, baby.
Like,
That's
I just
just how
imagine
it is.
you're doing that, you're sitting next to somebody here, hold my foot. Like, like, I don't.
You can't control it. It's just that movie puts a spell over you.
But yeah, that one was probably the worst movie. And it's usually, like, adults who are
I was the
worst.
same way with Minions.
Right. Well, you're banned from most movie theaters in New Jersey.
Yeah, well, you remember when everyone was wearing suits to go see the Minion movie?
That was another TikTok thing, right?
I mean, sure, what isn't a TikTok thing these days? Yeah, well,
But-
I did that, only then I was fucking in it.
Oh, well, but you don't use condoms, so it's fine.
Exactly. I left no mess behind.
Right. But yeah, that was the grossest thing. And like, yeah, don't do that in a theater.
Well,
That's it.
you
That was-
teach their own, I say. Don't kink shame.
Because I've never actually, because like even people were like, oh, have you ever seen like somebody get sick, like vomit from like the 3D movies? I'm like, no, that's not a thing. I've seen.
Yeah.
But I would prefer that to a very used condom.
Very well used.
Very well used.
Well loved.
But yeah, so me and my partner will go to the movies, and
Partner
we
and I.
we both will take our trash with us. And like
Right.
Danny is OCD clean sometimes, so like he'll like make sure the cup holder's empty, make sure like he won't pick up stuff off the floor because we're not insane, but like we'll make sure like what we came in with we're leaving with. But like I would probably like I'm sure I've done it to one of my friends, or probably not you because you're not gross. But like I'll call someone back and be like, "Can you pick this up?" Like
I don't think I would do that, to be honest with you. I'm too conflict averse. I mean, I don't know that I've ever gone to a movie with someone who didn't just take their trash.
right.
Like, I'd like to think I'm friends with people who do that.
Well, and that's the other
But-
thing too. Like I want to know like these people, like, who'd you vote for? Like
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've kind of been talking about the whole issue, but not specifically about George and Rosie this whole time. But I feel like I think it's pretty obvious which way we're leaning.
now, okay, so you put yourself in George's shoes, which are sticky because they just came back from a movie theater.
Yeah.
What would you be upset if your significant other or a friend said, "Hey, you left trash here"? Or like,
Well, I would be embarrassed, but I wouldn't. I would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I don't know what I was. My mind was somewhere else. I'll go grab that."
And it also depends on like how Rosie did this. Was it like like how far away was he? Was there people in the way? Like, "Hey, idiot, you left garbage behind," or like, or like did she was like, come here.
Yeah, I think it sounded like she was just saying, "Hey, you left some trash.
Right.
You
'Cause,
should
like-
come back and clean it up."
I don't know if I would be embarrassed in that situation. I would play it off as, "Oh, I forgot." Like.
I would be embarrassed because I would be embarrassed that I didn't clean up after myself. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, not like embarrassed, like, "Oh no, people are gonna see me."
Judge me, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Now in the it's left. Apparently, he says. I think his defense partially was that it's leftover popcorn and nachos, but it wasn't on the floor. so that it wasn't like basically he didn't make like a mess. He just left things behind. But I almost feel like it's the opposite where like I said if you make a big mess on the floor, that's one thing, but
Right.
the stuff that's right at your seat, like yeah, that's what you're equipped to take with you.
Right. The phrasing "I left stuff behind" that's garbage. You take that with you. Like unless like we were saying it's crumbs, fine. But like if you left the nacho
Right.
container behind, no.
Yeah. If there is food stuff is one thing.
Right.
Like you should not to spill the foodstuffs, but it's understood that that's going to happen sometimes and that's why they have cleaning crew.
Or
But
if you like, so what I've done before, like I've spilled a soda because you know those cups get like mushy with stuff, and the glue sometimes falls apart.
you're always squeezing them real
Always
hard.
squeezing them. I had a cup break and it spilt on the next seat. There was nobody in. So what I did was after the show, I said, "Hey, I was sitting in aisle B. I spilt soda," and they're like, "Okay, fine, we got that," just to let them know so they can go in with towels or whatever.
Yeah. That makes sense too. Yeah.
Also, you know, like, "Hey, I left my condom on the floor. You mind just getting that for me? Thanks."
So, I don't know. I'm ready to just give the verdict on this one. I think we've done it. I think we've said our piece. We're judging Rosie here as to whether or not she is guilty for motioning to her boyfriend that he needs to clean up after himself. And I think it's pretty obvious. It hardly needs to be elaborated on. She's a hero to me. She's very brave. She did what I probably would not have done. And she's correct to do it. And people should clean up after themselves in movies. It's so easy to do that it shouldn't even be a consideration. It's whether or not you have to do it. You just might as well do it just because we live in a society. So, of course, I'm going to say that Rosie is not guilty.
I agree that she is not guilty because, like, you know, yeah, we don't have to tell you to do it, but like, I think it's something to do with like, oh, you're in a dark space, no one's going to catch me, because like in theory, yeah, no one is going to catch you. There's no one like watching like there are no cameras in movie theaters. That's another weird AMC law that they can't have security cameras in there because the MPAA is like, oh, you could record the movie. That's it. But
Sure.
so you're not going to get caught by doing this, but you know, you should have a conscience about it. And you know, I will be the guy, like if we're out, call me out. I want to be called out, like, because maybe, oh, I forgot we had nachos, and call me back and I'll pick it up. But yeah, definitely. What did we say? Not guilty.
Not guilty.
She is not guilty for, you know, putting her partner in his place.
Yeah. All right. We're very much on the same page on this one. The same sticky yellow page from Popcorn.
Oh, if it's yellow, please see a doctor.
Oh, don't let it mellow. Now we're gonna.
Somehow that sounded worse than the used condom. I don't know why.
We are gonna have to come up with a sentencing for George on this one because he did a bad thing, and he's a bad man.
He's a bad man.
And I do wonder how much of this is. I think part of it may just be upbringing, not in a very specific sense of that. I think for some people don't think about it, and they just think, oh yeah, the movies, you just leave your food there. They've never even thought about it. And I feel like that maybe comes from the parents thinking that. And if you grow up always leaving your trash there, then you're just like, that's just what you do.
Well, that's what I'm assuming your parents probably told you at one point, like, we went to the movies as a family, pick up your trash when you leave.
Maybe. I don't have like a memory of that happening.
Right, but it's like a core thing of like, oh, I see them doing this. This is what you do.
It's just like, I just try to be polite in a public setting.
Right.
Like it feels like so obvious.
Well,
how do we teach George a lesson here? I mean, an obvious one right off the bat is he's got to work as a movie theater usher for a month, and he always gets first. He only works like the most crowded nights, and he's got to clean all the theaters by himself.
He has to work Friday, Thursday, and Saturday nights,
and Tuesdays now.
Oh, is that nationwide?
I think most theaters, once
Do it.
AMC started doing it, they do the discount Tuesdays.
Now, I would ask you another before we get to that. Have you ever walked into a theater and it was like completely gross? I feel like it's rare now that you walk into a theater and it's like
No, yeah.
there's stuff everywhere.
I think that cleaning has gotten a little better, but also fewer people go to the movies.
Oh well, that
So
too. Yeah.
it's just not as and the people, I think, more so. Movie theaters are coming back a little now post pandemic. It's not actively dying
Right.
per se. That's another subject, but I do think a higher percentage of the people still going to theaters are the people who respect the theaters.
Right.
As you know, whereas it used to just be everybody
Yeah.
went to the movie theater.
And when it wasn't the recliner chairs, those theaters held a lot more people.
And they weren't yet. Now, when they're being revamped, they are built a little better, I think, for cup holders. Some of them have the trays for the food, as opposed to just like you gotta like throw your stuff on the floor, so you're kicking it by accident.
Have you ever been to a theater that doesn't have cup holders? That is the most annoying thing ever.
Oh yeah, having to be like, oh, where is my? I hate
Right.
that at like a concert, anywhere where you can get a drink and you gotta put it on the floor,
Yeah.
or just hold it. It sucks.
That's awful. But yeah, I think George has to get a job at like a big megaplex at like Universal Studios or at a mall, or
For sure.
hear me out. He has to travel back in time to when porn theaters were a thing, and he has to be an usher at an X-rated theater.
Do they sell popcorn at those?
Yeah, but you don't want the topping.
Good night, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a thought about what the sentencing should be, or if you have an opinion about leaving movie trash, maybe you're one of those pieces of shit who thinks it's fine to leave trash behind and you want to defend yourself, we'll give you a fair shake. Email us, geeksontrial@gmail.com. That's also where you can go to submit your own case, whether it be about movie theater etiquette or video games, comic books, anime, any geeky subculture. We want to hear your dispute. We'll settle it on the air. You could also use our form, which is even easier to do. There's a link in our episode description.
And maybe sometime find us on Threads. That might be a thing we do. I don't know.
Could be.
But, you know, I'm sure I'm sure Threads is cheap, but we still want your money. So head on over to our Patreon page and sign up and give us a few bucks a month so you can gain early access and potentially surprise videos that could head over there. And give us a 5-star review and a thumbs up on whatever you listen to us on.
Yeah,
Now-
that's free.
Now, where can people find you at?
If you want to follow me, you can follow me, I guess, on Twitter right now at Quents or on Threads at Jonathan Estes. And you can go to jonathanestes.com where you'll find links to all my other podcast stuff and my newsletter, anything else you might want from me.
And you can find
How
me...
about
What?
I'm wondering how about you?
What?
That's all.
I put out a brand new video this week over on youtube.com/thesnackguy where I review and build a treat from IKEA. It is a self-assembly candy.
That's exciting.
Let you see that, and ivanhan.com for all the rest.
All right. Sounds good. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining us on this whirlwind of an episode. Hope you're having a great week. And remember, if you've got a trial, geek it a while. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Ivan Hahn, and we'll catch you next time.